Okay. I want to speak to you guys about something that barely makes the front-end news, that you guys rarely hear anything about, but that nonetheless it is really important in its effect on how we are in education right now. The truth is, we're all here to get an education, we're all here to get ahead, we're all here to get a degree and hopefully make enough money that we can live comfortably. But there's an inconvenient here truth is, and the inconvenient truth here is that we're not investing enough in the education of women. We're not investing enough in this education, and we're not giving them an opportunity to go into the global market and compete in the technological advances. So I hope to take you to a place where you guys can, I hope to take you to a place today where you guys can see that how this is very, very crucial to us advancing to become one of the top 10 in the technological advances in the world. So I have three main tenets for today. My main tenet is to speak about the dilemma we're going through in regards to the miseducation of women. My second tenet today is connected to you and why this is important to you, and make it more of a personal level. And my third tenet today is to teach you guys how you can make a difference here in California and what is happening here in California that is taking away funds from the Commission of the Status of Women here in California. And I will tell you guys a little more about that. Okay, so in order to start this, I'm going to share with you guys a story by Half the Sky by Cheryl Wadoon. And she is an anthropologist and a sociologist. And let me tell you guys a story about Ali Juan, who's 22 years old, and she lives in Central Asia. In the 6th grade, her parents decided to take her out of school because, you know, she was going to work in the rice paddies anyway, so why invest in her education? There was no need for the parents to invest into education. So, you know, they just decided to pay for her brother's education versus her. But as it turns out, she had the highest GPA in her village, and she had the highest grades. She had such high GPA that people from the New York Times came to her village and did a story on her. A lot of people were taken aback by how smart she is, by her initiative, and by basically her creativity, that they donated money to her and decided to fund her education. So due to this, she was able to go to vocational school, she was able to get educated, and as a result, she now has her own company, and she got a lot of her family and her village out of the cycle of poverty. She was able to do that. And this is really important because this is kind of like a natural experiment that rarely gets played out. So when you invest in the education of a woman, has the her in her village, you saw that so many people were much more accepting, specifically males, especially the fathers, because they felt that was a waste of time. They were much more accepting in investing money for education. So actually the village now is one of the most thriving in all other village. A lot of the women are able not to go to school because they saw that, you know, Jolene was able to break out of that cycle and she gave back so much. Okay, so let me tell you guys about the problem. The problem is that we're not investing enough money in the education of women. This is something that is really, really crucial. According to the Population Reference Bureau, in 2011 and 2012, there will be over 65 million girls who do not attend school. So what does that mean? That means that 2 out of 3 children who don't get to go to school are girls. That's a lot of girls that don't get to go to school, 2 out of 3. So as a result, there are 58 million girls who are married off starting at the age of 10. There's a pressure that these families go through because these girls don't have an education, they don't have enough money, so they just marry them off. As a result, sex trafficking happens, and as a result, also these girls endure intense emotional, psychological, and sexual abuse since the age of 10. And they probably will die off around 20, 27, around there, 7 years. I think 20 to 27 is basically where they basically don't live that long because of all the emotional abuse, the stress of having 8 children just weighs on the woman. Okay. So according to UNICEF, the United Nations, why does this happen? What is the cycle that we're seeing today? They said that the #1 reason why this is happening is due to the lack of education, due to the lack of knowledge of, you know, what AIDS is, how to use a condom, due to the lack of education if they're hurt, where to go to, because they're not educated, because they don't have any self-esteem. It's really crucial as people to get educated at an early age, because that's when you start developing, that's when you start getting the self-esteem to build you know, your own mind and to build your own self-worth. So these girls are not getting that. So therefore, they're engaging in these relationships that are very detrimental to their development. Okay, So many of you guys may think, am I exaggerating? You know, how does this connect to me? Why do I care if a girl in Central Asia is not getting enough education? Or why do I care if a person in West Africa is not getting enough education? How does this affect me? So I'm going to talk about poverty and what poverty thrives under. Poverty thrives under overpopulation and the lack of resources. So that is basically poverty's cousin. Overpopulation and the lack of resources. According to the United Nations analysis, more educated women have significantly less children. So an educated man may have 2 children at most, but an educated woman will literally just have 1 or maybe no children at all. It depends, and they will be more prone to use birth control pills. And an educated woman has significantly more children, so that's 8 children. That is basically 8 children is what an educated woman will basically have. That's like the median of it all. So that's a lot of children. Unfortunately, the children that these women are having tend to be more male, not by choice, but because they are aborting the females because they don't see the point in that. They're not gonna have an education. They're not gonna bring any income. So most of the females are being aborted, or they're being left off, you know, just so somebody can adopt them, or they're just being left off to fend for themselves at 6 months. And most of them, the unfortunate truth is that they die. So there are more males now that are basically being brought into the world. So what is the consequence of that? What is the consequence of more males being preferred over females? So now the ratio now in all worldwide is 114 males to 100 females. So there's a significantly more amount of males now. By the year 2020, 4 million men will be unable to marry. That is the truth. 40 million men will be unable to marry. That is worldwide. So this means that there's going to be a more demand for females, especially in Central Africa. There's going to be more demand for females in Asia, in India, all over the world, and here too, because there's not going to be enough females, so a lot of them will get abducted. The sex trafficking business is growing as we speak right now. This is a very, very important thing. Sex trafficking is happening. So then a lot of the females are going to become a commodity. They're going to be worth less in the market because there's such a high demand for them, and there's so many of them that they can just abduct, and it is at such low cost. It's basically their commodities. So let's be practical. Like, if you guys, whether this is wrong or right, like that, I hope that that's not the point. Whether this is right or wrong, let's be practical. The best way to fight poverty is to educate everybody and get females into the workplace and get them the tools to compete in the technological advances we're having right now. Because we cannot compete in the global market if we don't use all of our resources, and that includes females. According to the World Food Program, 7 out of 10 people in the United States that are living below poverty, 7 out of 10 are women. So that means that 2 are men and then 7 are women. That is a lot. I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like that's just too many women being hungry. So what is the miseducation of women? So according to the National Center of Education here in the United States, the miseducation of women here it's a gender gap. So men here, they tend to go to college more. They tend to go to university. Women, on the other hand, tend to go to college and preschool, but they don't. After high school, they usually the norm is they have kids, they marry, they have a vocation here and there, but they rarely tend to go to high school. Maybe to college. Maybe that's a lack of encouragement. Maybe that's they have to work the second shift and take care of the children. So maybe they feel like they can't compete in a university level. They can't go to UCLA, USC, or maybe they just think it's too much for them. We don't know right now why this is happening, but the truth is that more women are just completing high school and it's stopping at there. So this is kind of creating a cycle of poverty, because the people that are in poverty here in the United States tend to be more females, and they tend to be single, and they tend to have at least 3 children. Okay, so the impact that I think that the education will have in this country is that it will reduce poverty, it will create more awareness towards AIDS, sexually transmitted diseases, and basically more health awareness of the South. Because if we're wasting resources, if we're wasting resources such as the talent of a lot of females, then we're not going to get anywhere. I'm going to share with you guys a story about Bill Gates. Obviously, you guys know who he is. And he was at a conference for the top 10 in the technological advances in Saudi Arabia. And he was asked by one of the reporters, what can we do to be the top 10? What can we do to compete like the United States does, or even get close to you guys? And what